In fact, when you gave your statement on December the 11th, you identified his photograph, didn't you?
I don't remember.
Let me show you what's been marked for identification purposes as State Exhibit number 6F. Isn't that your writing on the bottom middle photograph?
I'm not sure.
Did anyone tell you to say you're not sure?
No.
Do you remember while you were under oath on December the 11th of 2007 being asked these questions and giving these answers? I'm on page 7. Starting at line 14. You did recognize some of the people that you were shown in various groups of photographs, correct? Answer, yes. Question, did you recognize Eric? Answer, yes. Question, are you positive it was Eric? Answer, yes. So those were your answers when you gave a sworn statement about 3 weeks after the car was rented, weren't they?
Oh, yes, but I said I seen him one time and he's been all over the news, so there's no choice but to know his name.
And you saw him at the first car rental agency when the Toyota Highlander was rented with Charles Wardlow, didn't you?
No, I did not. I seen him the very first time with Ancola. That's the only time I seen him.
And in fact, the place where you went to pick up the car when you picked it up was at the school that Eric goes to, wasn't it?
I don't know what school he goes to.
We were talking on page 12 of your sworn statement that you gave on December the 11th of 2007 about what school Charles and Eric went to. And I asked you, starting at line 9, what school? Answer, Florida Christian Institute. Question, who goes to school there? Answer, Charles. Charles and Eric did go. Question, did you go to the Florida Christian to look for the car? Answer, yes. It was in the parking lot with the keys in the car and the gas tank was on E. Those were your answers under oath 3 weeks after the car was rented, weren't they?
Okay, yes, but I didn't know if he went there or not. If that's what somebody says he went there, then that's what I knew, but I never knew for him going there. I don't know him. I know Charles, I don't know Eric.
How many other questions at this time?
Now, Romaine, you just stated that you don't know Eric, correct?
Yes.
Now, after Mr. Taylor was killed, do you recall seeing news footage?
Yes.
And was Eric's face on the news?
Yes, he was.
And is that how you knew Eric?
Yes. Well, I see him previously before with a friend in Cola Diggs, but that's how I knew him, got to know him more.
Now, you were asked about the sworn statement you gave back in December of 2007, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall who was there when you gave your sworn statement?
No, I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember if there was discussions with you before you gave your sworn statement?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay. Do you remember whether or not you were asked to give a deposition after you gave your sworn statement?
I don't remember. Sorry.
And how do you feel about being here today?
Yeah. Just name.
Judge, it goes to motive.
Just name.
And it's your testimony that you did not see Eric at the Hertz back then.
No.
Is that your testimony that you did not see Eric at the Hertz that day?
Yes, I did not see him. He was not there.
Did someone tell you that they saw Eric there?
Objection.
No.
Sustained. Ladies and gentlemen, just go to that last question and answer.
But you yourself personally did not see Eric there?
Objection is
Sustained, yes, you want to. Next question.
Judge, I have nothing further.
Okay, Johnson being excused. I'm assuming the state's not going to recall her, right?
I beg your pardon, I do object to her being in the courtroom. Judge Seiler.
All that time.
Did you also spend time with your cousins?
My cousins?
Yes.
Which ones? Yes.
Mainly with Jeremy and Devon.
Yes, we all got.
Would you spend the night at their house?
Yes.
And would you spend the night at Charles's house?
Sometimes when his sisters don't stay there.
Now, I want to go to the night of the incident. What were you doing earlier that night?
The night of the incident,
Yes. The night of the incident in Miami.
earlier that night,
Yes.
I was at my friend Trey's house.
Is Trey one of the females you used to hang out with?
Yes, I was dating her at the time.
Now, did she think she was your girlfriend?
No.
Okay. And around what time was it when you went to Trey's house?
Probably around 7, 8.
Okay. And why did you go to Trey's house?
That was the plan. I was going to go to Trey's house that night after she got done doing hair.
Okay. And who took you to Trey's house, or how did you get there?
I got dropped off by Charles.
Now, you had your own car at the time, right?
Yes.
What kind of car was it?
A white 2-door Monte Carlo.
So, if you had your own car, why did Charles have to drive you to Trey's house?
I was spending the night at his house that whole weekend.
And why were you staying at Charles's house?
Because he stayed close to Trey, so I decided to stay at his house so I could go to her house.
So, even though you were there for Charles, it really was about seeing and spending time with Trey?
Right, yes.
Okay. Did you tell your parents you were staying with Charles so you could see Trey?
No, I didn't tell them that.
Okay. Why not?
I just told them I was staying at Charles' house. They
Okay.
said, okay.
And so Charles dropped you off at Trey's house around 8 o'clock, is that correct?
Yeah, between 7 and 8, somewhere around there.
Okay. And was it just you and Charles when you went to Trey's house?
No.
Who else was with you?
Benja and Tim was in the car too.
Now, did you know Tim and Benja?
Did I know them?
Yes.
I knew who they was.
Okay. And how did you know who they were?
Through Charles and just seeing them.
And when you got dropped off at Trey's house, did they stay with you?
No.
Did Trey have any girlfriends for them to hang out with?
No, she had sisters, but nobody was talking to them.
Okay. And so, do you know what they did once you got dropped off at Trey's house?
Do I know what they did?
Yes.
They said they was going to get a 4-wheeler. That's what I assumed they was doing.
Okay. Now, how long had you known Charles?
I know Charles
Yeah.
basically all my life.
Would he have been your best friend at the time?
Yes, he was one of my close friends.
And when you heard they were going to get a four-wheeler, what did you think?
Objection.
Stand, next question.
Okay. So, did you go with them to get a four-wheeler?
No.
And how long were you at Trey's house?
I was at Trey House till around 10:30.
And what were you doing at her house?
We was watching the movie.
Now, why did you leave Trey's house?
I left because my mom said it was time for the company to go.
Did you try to stay there longer?
Yes, I tried to stay there a little longer.
But her mom kicked you out?
Yes.
Now, how did you leave Trey's house?
Charles came and picked me up.
Was Charles alone when he came to pick you up?
No.
Who was with him?
Benjamin and Tim was still with him.
Now, what happened when you left Trey's house?
Left Trey House?
Yes.
Well, that's when they went and picked up Jason.
And where did they go to pick Jason up?
Jason stayed like right around the corner. Just go down one street, and he was walking down the street.
Now, why did you go to pick up Jason?
Why they went and picked up Jason?
Yes.
I guess they had plans on going to Miami, and Jason's supposed to know where they was going.
Now, let me stop for a second. Were you driving the car?
No.
Okay. Who was driving?
At the time,
Yes.
Charles was driving while I was in Lehigh.
Okay. So, what did you think you guys were going to do after you left Trey's house?
What I thought we was going to do?
Yes.
Well, while I was at Trey House, I knew they was planning on going to Miami.
Now, did you know why they wanted to go to Miami?
At the time,
Yes.
I knew they was going to try to get some money.
Okay. When did you first learn they wanted to go to Miami?
Charles had came back to Trey House, and he was basically rushing me saying, let's go, let's go. And I was telling him I'm hanging out. And that's when I told him, man, I'll just stay at your house tonight. And he was basically telling me that he locked himself out. So that's when I was telling him, well, you can just take me home.
Now, what time was this when Charles came back to Trey's house?
Probably like 30 minutes or an hour before I left her house.
Okay. Now, when you heard Charles say he wanted to go to Miami, did you want to go?
Did I want to go?
Yes.
No, I didn't want to go.
Did you do anything? I heard you just say you asked Charles to take you home. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did he take you home?
At the time, no, he was just rushing me saying, let's go.
Okay. Did you end up staying at Trey's house?
Yes, I ended up staying because I called my sister to come pick me up. But she told me that she wasn't going to get out of bed.
Okay. And just now approach the plate. And just may I approach the little?
You may.
Okay, Eric, I'm showing you what's been previously admitted as State's Exhibit 84. Judge, actually, can I have him step down and look at it?
Sure.
While I publish it to the jury. Now, Eric, do you remember your telephone number at the time? Your house telephone number?
Do I remember the house number?
Yes.
Yes, I remember the house number.
And what was the house number at the time?
The area code 239-690-0940.
And I'm showing you a phone call that's made at 2143. And it's on page 65 of the phone records. And it was, your phone number at the time was 2216, is that correct?
I believe so.
And so at 2143, there was a call made to 690-0940. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's your home number?
Yes, that's the house number.
And is that when you tried to call your sister?
Yes, I called the house number.
Okay. You can take a seat. Now, when you called your sister, did she come pick you up?
No, she didn't come. She said she's not getting out of bed.
Okay. And what did you do when she said she wasn't going to come pick you up?
Well, that's when Charles was just telling me, man, we just gonna go for the night. We're gonna come right back.
And so based on your sister not coming to pick you up, did you call anyone else?
Did I call anyone else?
Yes.
No,
Why not?
because when he just told me they were just gonna go for the night and come right back, I was just like, all right.
Okay. And so after you tried calling your sister, you stayed at Trey's house for about another hour, and then Charles came to pick you back up, correct?
Yes, I called him.
Okay. And then after he picked you back up, that's when everyone went to pick up Jason.
Yes.
Now, what happened after you picked Jason up?
What happened when I picked Jason up?
Yes.
Well, when Jason first got in the car, that's when he went to asking them about.
Now, what was your understanding of why they wanted to go to Miami?
At that point,
Yes.
they was just saying they finna go get some money.
Do you know whose idea it was to go to Miami?
Whose idea?
Yes.
No, I don't really know whose idea it was at that time.
Was it your idea to go?
No.
So, when Jason got in the car, Jason started talking about a gun.
Yes.
Do you remember what he was saying?
I believe his actual words was, do anybody have a gun?
Now, did you have a gun?
No.
Do you know if Charles had a gun?
Charles at the time, no.
Did you see anyone with a gun at that point?
No.
And did you ask why he was asking about a gun?
No, I didn't ask.
Why not?
I just guess I wasn't thinking.
And what happened next?
Next, that's when you go to Lehigh, it's a road that goes straight to I-75, and they went on that road, get to I-75.
Now, at any point when you heard them talking about a gun, did you ask to go home?
Did I ask to go home?
Sustain, refresh.
When you heard them talking about a gun, what did you do?
What did I do?
Yes.
Well, when they picked Jason up and they were talking about a gun, I didn't say nothing.
Why not?
I wasn't even thinking.
Did you ever try to leave?
Did I try to leave?
Yes.
Well, once we got to the gas station on I-75, that's when Venture started driving, and he was talking about high-speed chases and stuff.
Okay. Now, who drove to the gas station?
Charles was driving.
Okay. And then once you got to the gas station, Charles stopped driving and Benja was driving at that point?
Yes, I believe Charles was having a seizure.
Okay. Is it common for Charles to have seizures?
Yes, it's coming. He had like mild seizures where his back hurt and he just lay down.
Okay. And so once you got to the gas station, where did Charles go?
Charles went in the back of the car.
Okay. Now, did this particular SUV, how many seats were in it?
How many seats?
Yes.
It was like 3 rows.
Okay. Do you remember if it was bucket seats in the front?
Bucket seats?
Yes.
Was
Or was
one
it
for the
a
driver,
van?
one for the passenger?
Correct.
Yes, in the front.
Okay. And then was there a second row?
Yes.
And then there was a third row in the back?
Yes.
And the third row in the back, is that where Charles went?
Yes, that's where he went.
Okay. Now, where were you sitting?
I was still in the passenger seat.
And that's when Venja took over and Venja drove?
Yes.
Where was the gas station?
The gas station was, I believe it was Bonita or Naples.
Okay. And where's Bonita or Naples in relation to your house?
In relation to my house, it's in a different county.
Okay. Now, would you have been able to drive, or if you were able to drive, how long of a drive would it have been from the gas station to your house?
From Naples to Bonita to Fort Myers,
Yes.
probably 30 minutes, 20 minutes.
Okay. And when Benja started talking about a high-speed chase at the gas station, what did you do?
Well, that's when I told him we ain't finna get in a high-speed chase while I'm in the car.
And why is that?
Because I wasn't finna be in a high-speed chase. I know people that got died like that. So that's when I said something.
Did you try to just walk away from them?
Did I try to walk away?
Sustained. Next question.
What did you do at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
that's when the conversation was had, when everybody was telling me I was tripping, and I was telling him that y'all can just take me home. But that's when they decided that Benja just said, man, I'll just pull over.
Okay. So now when you say tripping, what does that mean?
Tripping,
Yes.
it means, tripping, I guess it means when somebody ain't acting the way you want them to act. They spooking out, I guess. That's the term they was using.
Is that a term you use commonly with your friends?
Yes, used to, yes.
Okay. So when they said, Eric, you're tripping, what did you take that to mean?
I took it to mean as they was tripping. Like,
And what were you thinking at that time?
what was I thinking at that time?
Yes.
That I wasn't finna be in no high-speed chase, that they could take me home.
Now, did anyone take you home?
No.
What happened at that point?
At that point, they just decided that Avenger said, man, I'll just pull over, and I left it at that.
Okay. Now, what was everyone else's reaction to them just saying if he needed to, there would be a high-speed chase?
What was everybody else's reaction?
Yes.
Well, Charles didn't really have no reaction, but Tim and Jason was really like, they was with him.
Now, had you ever hung out with Tim before?
With Tim,
Yes.
I didn't hang out, but he went to like a football game with me and Charles before.
What about Jason? Had you ever hung out with Jason before?
No,
And had you ever hung out with Benja before?
no.
Now, what happened? Did you eventually leave the gas station?
Yes, we left.
What happened when you left the gas station?
That's when we got on I-75. Well, I think it's Alligator Alley.
Okay. Were you driving?
No,
Okay. Who was driving at that point?
Avenger was driving.
Okay. And what was everyone else doing?
Everyone else,
Yes.
they was having conversations, and Charles was like just laying in the back.
Now, at any point, did you ask them to turn around and take you home?
Sustained.
Judge, may we approach?
Sure.
So you leave the gas station, you're on Alligator Alley. What happens at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
that's when they start having discussions.
Okay. And what was being discussed?
That's when they went to talking about the money and how much money it was supposed to be.
Now, did you have any idea of, well, let me ask this. Did you know where you were going?
That came up at the time too.
Okay. And what did you find out about where you were going?
I found out they were just saying that Sean Taylor had money in his house, and they were just talking about they just gonna go in and get it. They already know where it's at.
And do you remember who specifically was saying this?
It was a conversation between like the three of them,
Okay.
Jason, Tim, and Venture.
Now, before you left Fort Myers, did you know anything about going to Sean Taylor's house?
Yeah, I knew we was going to Sean Taylor's house.
Yes.
No.
And you didn't learn about it until you were on Alligator Alley?
Yes.
Now, whose idea was it on where to go?
On where to go?
Yes.
I don't believe it was nobody's idea. I think Jason was getting directions.
Okay. Now, what were you doing? Venture was driving, correct?
Yes, he was driving.
And Jason was getting directions.
Yes.
What were you doing?
I was just in the passenger.
Okay. And what was Charles doing?
Charles was just in the back. He was laying down like the whole time.
Now, did you eventually get to Sean Taylor's house?
Yes.
Now, had you ever been to Sean Taylor's house before?
No.
How did you know it was Sean Taylor's house?
They told me it was his house.
And what happened once you got to his house?
What happened?
Yes.
He parked. And that's when they started having discussions about who's going to actually go in. And that's when they went in.
Okay. Now, what were you doing at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
I was just listening to music.
Okay. Where was the car parked in relation to Mr. Taylor's house?
The car was parked.
Yes.
It was parked like near the road.
Okay. Now, could you see the house from the car?
Could you see the house?
Yes.
No, I don't think so, no.
And what happened when you were in the car outside of Mr. Taylor's house?
When I was in the car,
Yes.
that's when Jason, Venture, and Tim, they had jumped the wall, and they had went over there.
Now, what were you doing?
By that time, I was talking to Charles.
And where were you?
I was still in the passenger seat.
Where was Charles?
Charles had got in the driver's seat.
Now, do you remember what you were wearing that day?
What I was wearing,
Yes.
just t-shirt, gym shorts, tennis shoes.
Do you remember what type of shoes?
Type of shoes,
Yes.
yes, I wore Jordans.
What type of Jordan?
Red and black.
Okay. Now, do you remember what anyone else was wearing?
No, not really.
How do you remember that you were wearing the red and black Jordan?
I remember I was wearing the red and black Jordans.
Yes.
I basically remember everything from that night.
Now, so you and Charles stayed in the car while Tim, Venja, and Jason got out, correct?
Yes,
Did you see where they went?
they jumped on the concrete wall.
Now, did you ever see them with anything in their hands when they jumped the wall?
Yeah, I seen Venture when he got out the car.
Okay. What did you see in Venja's hand?
Venture had the gun in his hand. Then Jason had like some tools. He grabbed the tools.
Now, when you say tools, did you see specifically what he had?
Yes, I believe he had like a hammer and a crowbar.
And what did you and Charles do?
Me and Charles just waited for them to come back out, I guess.
Now, at any point, did you and Charles, well, not even going into Charles, at any point, did you ask them not to go into the house?
Did I ask them not to go?
Abstain.
At any point, well, did you block them from going into the house?
No.
Did you ask them not to go into the house?
No.
Did you say, hey guys, let's turn around and go back to Fort Myers?
No.
When you first heard about it, when they were talking about going to Sean Taylor's house, what were you thinking when you first heard them discussing it?
What was I thinking when they first were discussing it?
Yes.
I wasn't thinking nothing. I just thought they was going to get a lot of money.
Okay. Did you think you were going to get any money?
No, I didn't think I was getting nothing.
Why not?
So I never asked. I never said nothing.
Now, when you're sitting in the car and you see them, Benja had a gun and Jason had the hammer and the crowbar, what were you thinking at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
I just thought they was going to go in, get the money, and come back out.
And what happened?
I guess they went in, then they came back out.
Okay. Did you see them go into the house?
No.
How long were they gone from the car before they came back?
Maybe a couple minutes.
And what happened when they came back to the car?
When they came back,
Yes.
they were basically having discussions with each other about where everybody was at. Jason was asking them what they was doing.
Okay. And where were you when they were discussing this?
I was in the passenger seat.
And what happened at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
Benja told him that he was getting some shoes, and he showed him shoes that he had got, and Tim said he was looking around the house. And Jason basically told him, man, he know where the money was at. Why they going around the whole house?
Now,
And it was discussions about somebody probably heard a voice or something.
okay. Now, you said Benja had some shoes, correct?
Yes.
Did you see him with some shoes?
Did I see him?
Yes.
Yes, he had put one of them on.
What type of shoes were they?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you know where he got the shoes from?
Yeah, he said he got it from the house.
So, Jason was saying, let's go back in?
Jason?
Yes.
Yes, Jason, he wasn't saying go back in, but he was just saying that, hey, I know where the money at. Why y'all going around the whole house?
Okay. And what happened at that point?
At that point, well, after they discussed about the voice being heard, they basically said, all right, we're going to go back in. Then that's when Charles was panicking, and Charles was telling the man, let's go.
Okay. And what were you doing?
I was just listening.
And what happened next?
What happened next?
Yes.
Well, Charles was still panicking, and they kind of made me start panicking. So when they jumped the wall again, Charles actually kind of was about to lead them.
Okay. When you say Charles was panicking, what was he doing?
He was just saying, man, let's go, about the voice situation.
Okay. But even though Charles was saying, let's go, the three guys went back into the house?
Yes, they went back in the house.
And you said Charles was about to leave them?
He actually pulled in the road.
Okay. So may I approach the clerk?
Yes.
Can I have him step down?
Yes.
Number 30. And Eric, if you could step down for me. you have been previously admitted as State's Exhibit 38. Now, on this exhibit, do you know where the wall is?
The wall?
Yes.
I'll assume this the wall.
Okay. Now,
Oh, yeah, it's the wall.
now, when the car was first parked, the car you were in, where was the car parked?
The car was parked either on this side or that one of them spots.
Okay. But it was on one of the gates in the driveway leading to the house?
Yes.
Now, when you say Charles drove off, what did Charles do?
What Charles did,
Yes.
he pulled on one of the sides, he pulled off and turned right.
Okay. And do you know where the guys were? Well, let me ask this. When the car was parked, was it facing the house or was it facing the road?
It was facing the road.
Okay.
I faced this side.
Okay. So he drove it out and to the right.
Yes.
All right. We're going to take a seat. Now, what happened at that point when Charles drove off and he drove to the right?
At that point,
Yes.
I basically asked him, what you finna lead him?
And what did Charles say?
He said, yeah. He was just saying that, yeah.
Okay. Did you guys actually leave them there?
No, we didn't leave him.
What happened next?
He kind of pulled down the road more.
Okay.
Then that's when they came back running out and he stopped.
And what happened at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
that's when everything started happening.
And what do you mean by everything?
At that point, that's when Tim got in the car. He was all cut up. Then Venture was like peeking on him. And Jason was saying, man, what happened? What happened? Charles asking, what happened? What happened? Then I'm looking at Tim. He bleeding.
Okay. Now, where was Tim bleeding from?
He was bleeding from like all over his face, his neck area.
Okay. How was Venja acting? You said Venja was picking on somebody?
Yes, he was talking to Tim.
And what was he saying, if you remember?
He was basically saying, he's stupid. You stupid.
And what was Tim doing?
Tim
Yes.
just kept on saying that, I guess he was saying he ran through the sliding glass door at the time.
And what was Jason doing?
Jason was asking, man, what happened? I guess he had heard the gunshots. He was just asking what happened.
Okay. Now, when they got back into the car, did you see a gun?
Did I see the gun?
Yes.
I don't recall. I don't believe so, no.
But you saw Tim was cut up
Yes,
and Venja was picking on Tim.
yes,
And both Jason and Charles were asking what happened.
yes. Charles was trying to find out what happened in general, and Jason was trying to find out what happened with the gunshots, why he shot.
Okay. Now, what were you doing?
I was trying to figure out what happened.
Okay. And were you guys still parked in front of the house?
No, we was down the road at this time.
Okay. And what happened next?
What happened next?
Yes.
Well, that's when Vengeance said he had shot somebody. Then Jason was asking him like what they looked like, and that's basically what was going on. They were trying to figure out who was shot. Then they were trying to figure out what happened to Tim. Then that's when everybody was like, man, shoot, we going to jail. So there's like a whole bunch of police sirens coming.
Okay. And what were you thinking?
I was just thinking everybody going to jail. I was just thinking it's over with.
Now, where did you guys go at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
it just everybody was panicking, and I don't know where they went, but they was making wrong turns, and I got lost.
How did you have a GPS in the car?
Yes, it was GPS.
Okay. Did you use the GPS to get back?
Yeah, Charles typed in the address, and that helped us get back.
And where were you sitting in the car?
I was just sitting in the passenger seat.
Okay. Do you know where you were at that point?
Do I know where we were?
Yes.
As far as the location, the area?
Yes.
No, I had no idea.
Was anyone using their phone?
At that time,
Yes.
I believe Jason used Charles' phone. Charles used Jason's phone one, but Jason thought he left a phone in the house or something. But he said he didn't have it with him.
Okay. And what happened next?
What happened next?
Yes.
Well, when he typed the address in, it told us where to go. And when we passed the toll, they were basically asking, did I have money? And I told them, yeah.
Okay. Did you give them any money?
No, I ain't giving them money.
Why not?
Because I didn't want to. It was just, the whole situation was just crazy.
Okay. Now, how much money did you have on you?
At the time,
Yes.
probably a couple $100.
Okay. Now, if you had money on you, why didn't you call a cab to go home?
Why didn't call the cab?
Yeah.
Never crossed my mind.
Before you guys left for Miami, you said you didn't want to go, right?
Right. Originally, I didn't want to go.
So why didn't you call a cab?
I guess I wasn't thinking. Never crossed my mind.
So when y'all were going back to Fort Myers, they asked you for money.
Yes, at that time, they asked me for money for the toll. I told them no. So they just ran through it. Then they asked me money for gas. I told them no. Then they were saying that, hey, we're going to break down. You're going to be stuck with us. Then that's when I started making phone calls.
Who did you call?
I called a few people.
Okay. Do you remember?
Off the top of my head, no. I know I called my cousin was one.
And why did you start making phone calls?
Because I was going to leave them.
Okay. Now, do you know where you were on Alligator Alley?
Do I know where I was?
Yes.
Once we got to Alligator Alley?
Yes.
Yes, I can tell Alligator Alley.
Okay. How far is that from your house?
Probably an hour. So,
Now, did anyone ever come pick you up?
did anyone pick me up?
Yes.
No, I didn't need nobody to pick me up. We ended up making it to Lehigh.
Okay. Now, did anything happen while you guys were on Alligator Alley?
Yes.
What happened?
Well, that's when they kept asking me for gas money, and they were basically getting mad at me because I wouldn't give them no money. So that's when I told Charles to pull over, and I was going to get in the back seat.
And did Charles pull over?
Yes, he pulled over.
Okay. Do you know where you were when he pulled over?
Alligator Alley.
Okay. But do you know exactly where on Alligator Alley?
No.
So once the car pulled over, or once Charles pulled the car over, what happened then?
When Charles put the car over,
Yes.
I got out and told Venture to let me get in the back.
And did Venja get out?
Yes, he ended up getting out.
Did you see if Venja did anything when he got out?
Yes.
What did he do?
Well, he asked me to throw the gun out for him, and I just looked at him crazy and said, man, watch out. Then once I was getting in the back, that's when he got out, and he threw the gun.
Okay. Did you actually see him throw the gun?
Did I actually see him?
Yes.
No, I didn't see him. He was throwing it while I was getting in the back.
Okay. So if you didn't actually see it, how do you know he threw the gun?
I guess I assumed he threw it. He said he threw it.
And you got in the back row of the SUV, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Where did Venja go?
Venture,
Yeah.
he went back the way he was. He just,
And who was driving?
Charles was driving still.
What happened at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
that's when we just headed to Lehigh.
Now, did you make it all the way to Lehigh without breaking down?
Yes.
And where did you go when you got to Lehigh?
We had went to Ariel house.
And why did you go to Ariel's house?
That's where they stopped. That's where they wanted to go.
Why didn't you go home at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
because it was early in the morning. I didn't want to go home that late at that time.
And when you got to Ariel's house, what happened?
Well, they got out, then I went to the gas station, and I had put gas in the car and got something to eat.
Now, where was this gas station that you went to?
The gas station?
Yes.
Lehigh.
And how did you get to the gas station?
I drove.
Did anyone go to the gas station with you?
No.
Why didn't you just take the car and drive home?
Why didn't you take it and drive home?
Yes.
Because I was going to walk in the house at 3, 4 in the morning.
And what happened? Did you come back to Ariel's house after you left the gas station?
Yes, I came back.
Okay. And what happened then?
What happened then?
Yes.
I walked in the house, then everybody was in the back room.
What were they doing when you got into the house?
They were just talking about what happened.
Where was Ariel?
Ariel,
Yes.
I believe she was in her room.
Okay. Now, how long were you at Ariel's house?
Maybe a couple hours.
Now, did you ever call anyone to pick you up and take you home?
At that time,
Yes.
no, Charles was going to take me home.
And did Charles take you home?
No, I ended up getting in the car because he ended up going over the girl.
Okay.
So he asked me to drop Benja off, and that's when everybody just split up.
Now, do you know the name of the girl Charles went with?
Her name,
Yes.
I assume, is Brittany.
Okay. So Charles left with Brittany. You were taking Benja home. What happened to Tim and Jason?
Tim and Jason.
Yes.
Tim stayed with Charles. Jason walked home.
Now, at any point, did you see anyone burning any clothes?
Yes, they burnt the clothes.
Okay. Did you burn any clothes?
No,
When you say they burned the clothes, who burned?
they
was-
burnt just the shoes. It wasn't no clothes burnt.
Okay. And when you say they, who do you mean?
Benja and Jason.
Did you see Benja and Jason burning shoes?
Did I see him?
Yes.
Yes, I saw.
When did that happen?
That happened.
Yes.
Well, after I came back and got gas, they were discussing it. And during that discussion, that's when they decided to go burn it.
Okay. Now, if they burned the shoes they were wearing, did you see them with extra shoes?
They had extra shoes?
Yes.
No, they didn't have extra shoes.
Did they walk around barefoot?
Well, Benja didn't. Jason did.
Okay. And when did they burn the shoes? Was that before or after you were at Ariel's house?
It was basically during, like in between, like they left, burnt it, came back.
Now, where did you go when you left Ariel's house?
When I left Ariel house,
Yes.
well, originally I went to my cousin's house. So he'll basically ask me why I needed a ride on I-75 for.
Okay. And is that the cousin you tried calling?
Yes,
And what's your cousin's name?
jars.
Okay. And was Benja with you at your cousin's house?
Yes, he was with me.
And what happened at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
I basically went over there, and he would ask me what I was calling him for a ride on I-75 that late. And I basically told him they went way to Miami for these pair of shoes.
Okay. Did you say anything about anything else that happened?
No, I ain't say nothing about what happened.
And what happened then?
What happened then?
Yes.
Well, he was trying to find out what happened. I told him to ask Benja. Then Benja was getting mad, but he was saying that I was talking about it. I was telling people. So I ended up going to drop him off after that.
And what happened after you dropped Benja off?
That's when I went home.
Do you know around what time it was when you went home?
Around 7, 8 in the morning.
In the morning? Now, did you see any of the guys in between that morning and the day you were arrested?
Yes.
Who did you see?
I was with Charles.
And why were you with Charles?
Basically, we was hanging out, going to school, like at my cousin's house. But they basically like both our cousins, but like different sides of the family.
Did you talk to anybody about what happened?
Yeah, I talked to anybody about what happened?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I felt like it wasn't my place.
So, you saw Charles in between. Did you see anyone else?
Yes.
Who did you see?
I would believe probably like that Wednesday or Thursday, maybe. That's when the rumors started going around that I was involved. So my cousin ended up calling me and was like, "Hey man, I need to talk to you." And I was like, "What's up?" He was like, "Nah, you need to come." Then that's when we ended up going to his house.
And which cousin is this?
The same with Jars.
Okay. What happened? Did you talk to Jars?
Did I talk to him
Yes.
when we went to his house?
Yes.
Yes, I talked to him.
Okay. Was anyone else with you?
Was anyone else?
Yes.
Yes.
Who?
Jeremy, Devon, Charles. Then another friend, Dodie, was there too.
Okay. Now, when you got to Jared's house, did you talk to Jared, Jeremy, and Devon, or was it just you and Jared privately?
It was basically just me and him, probably in Charles.
Okay.
It was him and Dodie, and they basically were telling me what they heard.
And what were Jeremy and Devon doing?
They were just waiting in the car.
Now, and that was on that Thursday.
It was before we got arrested on that Friday.
Now, going to that Friday, what were you doing that morning?
That morning,
Yes.
we was on our way to school.
And who were you with that morning?
I was with Jeremy, Devon, and Charles.
Where were you the night before?
I was at Jeremy's house.
And why were you at Jeremy's house?
I had stayed the whole week over there.
Is that something you would normally do?
Yes, we stayed at each other's house.
And were you on your way to school that morning?
Yes.
What time were you supposed to be in school?
I was supposed to be in school.
Yes.
Well, I had one period also, probably around like 9:30, somewhere around there.
Okay. And did you go straight from Jeremy's house to school?
Yes, we was on our way to school. Then we stopped at my house because I wanted to get my phone charger.
Okay. Did anyone go in the house with you?
Yes, we all ran in the house.
Okay. And what happened next?
The next, we ran in the house. I got the phone charger, and I ate a bowl of cereal, and we left.
Okay. And what happened after you left your house?
That's when we got pulled over.
Now, were you driving?
No,
Who was driving?
Jeremy was driving
And where were you sitting?
in the passenger seat.
And what happened when the car was pulled over?
When the car was pulled over,
Yes.
first the car was pulled over. The two officers came, and they were basically saying, "Hey, it's a routine stop." Then they asked Jeremy for his license and registration and stuff, and he gave it to him.
And what were you doing?
I was just in the passenger seat.
Now, what happened after the officers initially spoke with Jeremy?
But while they was going back with his license and stuff, that's when 3, 4 more police cars pulled up.
And what, if anything, happened when the police cars pulled up?
Oh, they got out the car.
Now, did you see the other cars pulling up?
Did I see them?
Yes.
I seen like one of them, but then you look back, they was over there.
And where were the police cars in position to the car you were in?
In position. There was one on the side of it, and there was like 2 or 3 of them behind it.
Now, the one that was on the side, was that a marked patrol car?
Yes.
And the ones that were behind, were they marked cars?
The one that actually pulled us over
Yes.
was marked, and the other 2, they wasn't marked, but they had lights.
Okay. And what did you do when you saw the other police cars?
When I did,
Yeah.
at the time, I didn't do nothing. I just thought it was a routine traffic stop. I was just waiting on him to bring back his license.
And what happened next?
Well, that's when they came and pulled him out the car.
And when you say him, who do you mean?
German.
What were you doing?
I was just sitting in the passenger seat.
And what happened while you were just sitting there? They took Jeremy. When you say they pulled Jeremy out of the car, did they physically grab him and pull him out?
No.
What happened?
They asked him, they said, step out the car. He stepped out the car. Then I seen him pat him down. And that's when I seen him take him to the back. And that's when I asked what was going on. Then that's when the dude told me, hey, some people want to talk to you. We're going to take you back to the station so you can talk to them.
Now, do you know who told you some people want to talk to you?
I think his name Orson.
Okay. Was he one of the officers in uniform?
Yes, he was in uniform.
And what did you do when you heard that?
Well, that's when I told him I wanted to use my phone. And that's when I pulled my phone out to use it. Then that's when he opened the door. He snatched the phone out of my hand, and he told me to step out.
Okay. And that was all done by Officer Olson?
Yes, that was all done by Orson.
Okay.
Orson.
And what happened at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
that's when I was worried about what's going on. And that's when he was like, man, just step to the back and they'll talk to you.
Okay. And what did you do?
That's when I stepped to the back.
Okay. Did you ever try to leave?
Did I try to leave?
Yes.
No.
Why not?
Well, when I stepped to the back, they all surrounded me.
And when you said they surrounded you, do you know who surrounded you?
It was basically all the ones at the stop.
Were they in uniform?
Some of them was in uniform. Some had the vest on.
And do you remember how many people were around you?
There had to be at least 6 of them.
And what happened when they were surrounding you?
Well, that's when Gonzalez and Wash were telling me that, hey, we're going to take you down there. And that's when I started telling them that I got to go to school. I had a game that day. Then that's when they seen all the equipment in the car. And they was asking me, hey, did you play football? And like what school I went to. And that's when I was telling them, yeah, I went to Florida Christian and we had a game today. And I got to be to school.
Did they take you to school?
No.
Did they ever let you go and call the school?
No, they didn't let me call nobody.
And did they ask you to stay in the car and just follow them to the station?
They asked me to stay in the car and follow them.
Yes.
No, they told me that they was going to take me. And he told me he had to pat me down. And that's when he patted me down. And he placed me in his car.
Now, did you have anything with you?
Well, I had my phone with me.
Okay. But did you have like a wallet, money, anything like that with you?
Yes, I had like car keys and money. Yes.
Okay. Did you have your car though?
No, I didn't have my car.
Okay. And when he patted you down, what happened at that point?
At that point, he patted me down. Then he didn't take nothing. Then that's when he placed me on his police car.
Now, did you ever have a chance to use the phone before you were put in the police car?
No.
Why not?
Orson took the phone.
So once you got into the police car, do you know whose car you were placed in?
Whose car?
Yes.
It was a police car.
Were you ever handcuffed?
No, I wasn't handcuffed.
And once you got into the police car, what happened then?
What happened?
Yes.
That's when I believe his name was Gonzalez. Gonzalez got in the car. And Gonzalez was basically asking me about football. He was basically just talking to me about other stuff. But I wasn't responding to none of his questions. So he was asking me, hey, is you all right? Is you all right? Then I was just looking at him.
Okay. Now, did Officer Gonzalez ever tell you why you were being taken downtown?
No, all he said was some people want to talk to you. I got to take it down. Some people want to talk to you.
Now, you said you weren't responding to his questions. What were you doing?
I was just looking at him. At that point, I was frustrated. I was upset. You know, I wanted to know what was going on and why they was taking me to the police station.
And you knew if you didn't go to school that day, you couldn't play in the game, correct?
Yes, I was.
And what happened once? Did you go downtown?
Did I go downtown?
Yes.
No, I ain't go downtown.
Do you know where you were taken?
Well, now, yeah, FDLE.
Okay. Did you know the FDLE building was there?
At the time, though.
Once you got to the FDLE building, do you know where they took you?
Where they took me?
Yes. Like, did you come in through the front, the back, the side?
I believe it was the front.
Okay. And what happened once you got there?
Once I got there,
Yes.
well, Gonzalez took me to the room, and we basically were sitting down, and I was asking him again, could I use the phone? Could I use my phone? Because at the time, he had it down. So I was asking him, could I use my phone? Then he basically kept telling me, when you talk to these people, you can ask them. You can discuss it with them. But he wouldn't tell me nothing.
Now, describe the room that you were taken to.
The room,
Yes.
it was a regular room, conference room, I guess.
What was in the room?
Well, the desk kind of covered the whole room. And that's basically all I remember was the desk.
Okay.
Small room.
Do you know if there was a phone in the room?
It wasn't no phone. Well, it was my phone. Gonzalez had my phone.
And did you see anything else in the room?
Anything else?
Yes.
It was basically normal office stuff. I guess it was shelves, stuff on the shelf, but I don't really recall.
And what happened when you were first taken into the room?
First, I sat down. Like, as soon as you walk in the room, I sat down. Gonzalez sat down. Then that's when Segovia and Bell came. And Gonzalez left. He had Segovia my phone. Then that's when he left.
Now, do you know about what time it was when this happened?
Do I know what time it was?
Yes.
Now I know approximately what time it was now, yes.
Okay. Was there a clock in the room?
No.
Was there any type of camera or recording equipment in the room?
It was, but at the time I didn't know it was in there.
Okay. And what do you mean when you say you didn't know it was in there?
Well, it was at the other end of the room, at the other end of the table from where I was sitting.
Okay. And what happened when you said Detectives Segovia and Bellew came in?
They came in, then Gonzalez left. He handed them my phone, then Gonzalez left.
Okay. And what happened at that point?
At that point, they asked me to sit at the other end of the table.
And did you do that?
Yes.
At any point were you told that you could leave?
No.
And what happened when you moved to the other end of the table?
That's when you could see the big camera just right there. It was basically right next to me.
And what happened then?
What happened then?
Yes.
That's when I was asking them to let me use the phone. Asking them what was going on.
And did they give you answers?
The only answer they gave me is, hey, we can't speak to you until you sign this Miranda form. Once you sign this form, we can speak to you. Then that went on for like 5 minutes. I told them I'm not going to sign the form, that I wanted to use the phone.
Okay. And why did you want to use the phone?
Because I wanted to call my father and let him know. And they just took me down to the police station.
Okay. But they never let you use the phone?
No, they never let me use the phone.
Showing you what's been admitted as State's Exhibit number 96. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's the form that I ended up signing.
Okay. And why did you sign this form?
Because they kept on saying legally we can't speak to you. So until you sign the form, we can speak to you.
Now, did they threaten you before you signed the form?
Threaten me?
Yes.
No, they didn't threaten me.
And did they promise you anything
They
to get you
promised.
to sign it?
No, they didn't promise me nothing.
And why did you sign the form?
Because they kept saying they can't speak to me.
So how long did it take before they first tried to get you to sign the form until you actually signed it?
What, them?
Yes.
Probably 5 minutes before I agreed to sign it.
And why did you finally agree to sign it?
Because they wouldn't speak to me. They wouldn't talk to me.
And what happened after you signed the Miranda form?
Yeah. I asked again. They let me use the phone.
Did they let you?
No.
What happened then?
That's when they started asking me about Miami. They basically ignored me when I was telling them let me use the phone. I was asking them what they wanted to talk to me about. And they just basically just ignored me and just kept saying, well, when the last time you been to Miami? Have you been to Miami this past week?
And did you answer their questions?
Yes, I answered their questions.
And what happened next?
What happened next?
Yes.
They basically asked me the same questions for like 30 minutes.
And what answers were you giving them when they were asking you these questions?
I told them I didn't know nothing. I don't remember. I don't recall.
Why did you tell them that?
Because they didn't want to talk to them.
At any point, did you ask to leave?
Did I ask to leave?
Yes.
No, I never asked to leave.
Why not?
It was clear that I couldn't leave.
And why did you say it's clear that you couldn't leave?
Well, they pulled me over in the car, placed me in the police car, took me to the police station, took my phone, wouldn't even tell me why I was there.
Did they tell you you were a suspect at that time?
At that time,
Yes.
like the first 30 minutes,
Yes.
no, they didn't tell me nothing about being a suspect.
Did you think you were a suspect?
At the time,
Yes.
they never really said nothing about it the first 30 minutes.
And what happened next?
What happened next?
Yes.
After the 30 minutes, they left the room. Then Segovia ended up coming back.
Okay. And what happened when Segovia came back?
When he came back, he was just basically asking me the same questions, asked me, how could you not remember something from a couple of days ago? And I was basically telling him, I don't have a good memory. I don't remember. I don't know what I was doing.
Was Segovia by himself at that point?
Yes, at that point, he was by himself.
Okay. Do you know where Detective Bellew was?
No.
Okay. And what happened when you were speaking with Detective Segovia?
I was speaking with Detective Segovia.
Yes.
And basically, both of us was getting frustrated with each other at that time.
And what type of things was he asking you?
He was just still asking me about Miami. He was basically asking, did I know the other people? And I would tell him I ain't know nobody. I don't know nothing. I don't know when the last time I've been to Miami.
And what was he doing as you were giving those answers?
What he was doing,
Yes.
he was just looking at me.
And what happened at that point?
At that point, well, towards the end of that part, he basically, he tried to snap. Well, he did snap.
Okay. And what do you mean when you say he snapped?
He snapped. He started yelling. He slapped over a couple of chairs. Then he basically tried to get in my face.
How close was he to you?
Well, he got close enough to me and I stood up.
Did he ever hit you?
No, he never hit me.
And when you say he got close enough where you stood up, how close was he to you?
How close?
Yes.
We were basically face to face at the time.
And what happened then?
What happened then?
Yes.
Well, he was mad. That's when he was just yelling. He was yelling. Then after he got done yelling, he just turned around and left.
Now, how did you feel at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
and I was thinking, this dude crazy.
Now, when he left out of the room, were you left in the room alone?
Yes, I was left alone with him.
And what happened then?
Then he ended up coming back again.
When he came back the next time, was he alone?
Yes, he was alone.
What happened then?
Then that's when he was just sat down. He was apologizing, like saying he apologized for acting that way. And he started telling me, hey, this is what we know. We know you've been lying to us. You know, he started like just telling me stuff that he was just saying, hey, this is things I know happened.
Now, what type of things was Detective Segovia telling you?
At that time,
Yes.
he was just basically telling me that, hey, I know y'all went to Miami. You know, I know you didn't intend to do nothing wrong. And he was just saying, I know that, and he was just basically just saying what the storyline, what he thought happened.
Okay. Now, what information did you learn based on Detective Segovia's questions to you?
At that point,
Yes.
I learned basically what he thought happened. He told me what he thought happened.
And what did he think happened?
At that time,
Yes.
he was just saying that the information he got, the other guys telling them that I'm the one who shot, I'm the one who had the gun. You know, he was just telling me that we know y'all went through this side of the house. We know y'all came in this part of the house. And he was just basically just telling me everything he thought happened.
Did he tell you what type of gun it was?
What type of gun?
Yes.
At that point, I don't know. No, I don't think so. Not at that point.
And did he say anything about shoes?
Shoes?
Yes.
No, not at that point either.
Okay. And at that point, it was just yourself and Detective Segovia.
Yes.
How long was he speaking with you then?
Then,
Yes.
at that point, he probably speaking to me for maybe an hour, hour and a half.
And what happened next? Did he leave?
Yes, he ended up leaving again because at that point, I was done talking to him. I had told him I didn't want to talk to him anymore. Then I told him everything I knew. So at that point, that's when I guess they brought Jason by the room.
Okay. Now, when you say you told them you were done talking, did they allow you to leave at that point?
No.
Did you ask to leave?
At that point,
Yes.
no, I ain't asked to leave. He was
What?
basically telling me I was going to jail at that point. Basically telling me, hey, you going down for this.
All right. And then that's when they brought Jason past the room.
They brought Jason past the room?
Yes.
No, they brought Jason past the room like after that, during the part where I actually stopped talking to him.
Okay. And what happened when Jason was going past the room?
Jason was going by the room.
Yes.
That's when they was just basically saying, talking to Segovia, just saying, hey, buddy's telling us everything.
Now, could you see Jason?
Yes, I see him.
Did you hear anything Jason was saying?
Jason, I ain't hear nothing he said.
And you just heard the detectives talking to each other?
Yeah, just the one detective, I think it was Bellew, that was talking to Segovia.
Okay. And what happened next?
What happened next, that Segovia got out the room and walked out again.
Okay. And what happened at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
they left and they just came back again.
Now, when you say they came back, who came back?
That's when Bellew came back with him again.
Okay. So it was Bellew and Segovia?
Yes,
And where were you?
it's in the same spot.
Did you ever leave that room?
No,
And when both Detective Segovia and Bellew came back, what happened then?
that's when they came back. They sat down and they were basically telling me, hey, you don't know what these guys telling us. You know, we have this information. You know, we know these things. Is somebody telling us something? Then they're asking us, hey man, tell your side of the story. Then at the time I was just still looking at them. I wasn't speaking to them. Then that's when they told me about the situation with my mom. Then they was telling me that, hey, we had to call the paramedics for your mom, and they had to take her to the hospital. Then that's what got me to start back talking.
Now, so before they re-entered the room, you had already decided you weren't talking anymore, correct?
Yeah, I was done talking to them.
Now, what did they tell you happened with your mom?
All they said is, hey, we had to call the paramedics for her. She had to be transported to the hospital. You know, then that's what started me to engage me to start back talking to them. And that's when they were telling me, you know, this is all on the news now. You know, it's people that's threatening your family. Their life could be in danger. And they were just saying, you talk to us, you cooperate with us, and we can help you out.
Now, the room where you were, was there a TV in there?
A TV?
Yes.
No.
Did you know if anything about you being there was on TV?
No.
Did you know if the things they were saying to you about your mom were true?
I believe that was true.
And how did you feel when they told you that your mom had to be taken to the hospital?
That's when I became concerned.
Now, other than telling you your mom was in the hospital, what did they say to you?
Well, after I started back talking to them, that's when they started telling me about all the issues that, hey, it could be threats on your family. It's threats, people say what they're going to do. People mad about the situation. You know, they were saying it's all your fault. They were just saying, man, you just cooperate with us. Tell us you did it. Then we'll take care of everything for you.
Did you believe them?
Did I believe them?
Yes.
About what part?
About the threats to your family?
Yes, I believe.
Were you ever allowed to use the phone?
No, they never let me use the phone.
Did they ever say, we called your mom, she's okay?
Did they ever say they called my mom?
Yes.
No, later on, they said something about that situation.
Okay. But in that moment, they never let you call her.
At that moment, no.
What happened next?
Next,
Yes.
that's when I started asking them questions. Like, all right, what do y'all know? What's going on? Like, and they basically just told me that Jason, they told me that Tim and that Benja was telling them that, hey, I was involved, that I was the one who had the gun. And he was basically just reading off a notepad saying that this is what we know.
Okay. And what other information, or did he give you any other information?
At that time,
Yes.
no, not really. He was just basically saying the same thing he was saying before.
Okay. And that's, everyone was saying you were the one responsible.
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, at that point, that's when I started asking about Charles.
Okay. And why were you asking about Charles?
Because they wouldn't mention his name, and I know he was there because they brought us together.
And what happened next?
They're basically saying Charles acting like you. Charles won't talk. He won't cooperate.
Did they ask you to call Charles?
Yes, they asked me to call. Well, no, they didn't ask me. I told them when it got to the point where they was like, hey, come out, tell your story. Tell us your side of the story, and we'll make sure nothing will happen to your family. I told them, well, what about Charles' family? And they were basically saying, hey, we can't help him out because he won't talk. He won't cooperate.
And what happened then? What did you do?
That's when I told them, hey, let me talk to him. Let me try to talk to him.
Now, at this point, did you give an official recorded statement?
At that point,
Yes.
well, I thought all of it was recorded at that point.
And why did you think all of it was recorded?
I thought it was recorded. The camera there, they had me sitting right in front of the camera the whole time.
Now, you see there's a court reporter here in the courtroom today, correct?
Yes.
Was there a court reporter there while they were speaking with you?
At that time, no.
Was anyone else present while they were speaking with you?
Was anyone else present
Yes,
besides Bellew and Segovia?
correct.
No.
So, did you make a recorded statement with a court reporter?
Did I make a recorded statement?
Yes.
Yes.
And why did you decide to give an official statement?
Why I decided to give an official statement?
Yes.
Because I was concerned about my mom. I was concerned about my family. You know, at the point, it felt like it wasn't going to stop. It just, hey, you going to tell us or you ain't leaving?
Now, the official statement that you gave, how much time passed between when you first got there and when you gave the official statement?
The official statement?
Yes. The one with the
one
court
that's
reporter?
recorded?
Yes.
I believe they said it was at 3:55, so what's that, 4 hours?
Now, during that 4-hour period, did you ever have any bathroom breaks?
No, I never used the bathroom.
Did you ever have any food or anything to drink?
Eventually, they end up bringing something, yes.
Okay. Did you ever eat anything they brought?
No, I didn't eat it.
When did they bring you some food?
They brought it.
Yes.
Well, after we engaged in the conversation, and I was telling them that, hey, yeah, I'll cooperate with you. I told them, yeah, I did it. Then after a while, like an hour or so, that's when they brought the food.
So they didn't bring you any food until an hour after you agreed to cooperate.
Yes, it was like right before the recorded part when they brought it.
Did you ever eat anything?
No, I didn't eat it. I just left it on the table.
Now, after you agreed to, well, let me back up a little bit. What happened right before you agreed to cooperate?
I spoke to Charles.
And how did you speak to Charles?
One of the, I think it was Bellew. Bellew called off his phone.
Okay. Why didn't you use your phone?
I didn't have my phone.
Okay. And was there a phone on the table?
No, there wasn't no phones.
Okay. Now, once you called Charles, what happened at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
Charles was telling me, man, you crazy. You crazy. I ain't saying nothing like that. I ain't saying nothing like that. Why would you do that? He was just basically asking me, why would you do that? And I was telling him, man, you got to do it, man. Just tell him I did it. Just tell him I did it. And he was like, man, I ain't telling him that, man. You crazy. Then the conversation went like that for maybe a minute or two. And he finally said, all right.
And what happened?
That's when he hung up. And that's when I told him, I said, all right, I did it.
Now, you initially denied it, correct?
Yes.
So why did you later change and say you did it?
Because at that point, they telling me I'm going to jail. They telling me these guys saying I did it. They telling me, hey, this all we know. And at that point, it was about my family at that point.
Now, after you told them you did it, what happened?
That's when I told them I did it. That's when they started asking me, well, what happened? They were telling me to give them back the store.
Here I'm showing you what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 97. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember this.
And I'm going to show it to the jury. Who drew this diagram?
I ended up drawing it.
And why did you draw this diagram?
I drew it because that's what they say happened.
Now, how did you know what to draw on the diagram?
Well, after I say I did it, we start having like a conversation, and he was basically asking me my story, and I basically was telling him what you said. You already know the story. Then he was basically telling me, you got to repeat the story too. Then that's when I started asking him like, well, what happened? Then I started asking him questions, and that's when we started going into more details with it.
Now I want to show you what's been admitted as State 62. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Now, and if you could sit down for just 1 second. Step on this side. Is that your signature right here?
Yes.
And why did you, is this your handwriting right here?
Yes.
And why did you write, this the one that I was wearing, and then sign your name on it?
That's the one they said the shooter was wearing. They kept on telling me that I'm the one who shot.
And do you know whose signature that is?
when the picture was shown to you, was it shown to you with just the top part?
I don't recall.
Do you remember if the business card and this information was on there?
No, I don't recall.
Okay. You can take your seat again. So,
I don't recall.
do you remember if the business card and this information was on there?
No, I don't recall.
Okay. You can take your seat again. So, after you agreed to cooperate and after you gave the sworn statement, after you agreed to cooperate, but before you gave your sworn statement is when the detectives started giving you information.
Yeah, that's when I started asking for the information.
Okay.
And, basically, the conversation going on.
Now, how did you know the details to put into your sworn statement?
How did I know the details?
Yes.
The story I told them when I gave the statement, the tape,
Yes.
it was basically from the conversation that me and him had.
Now,
Just may I talk with you? Yes, I'm giving you, it's been admitted as states 103, which is a copy and the same thing as states 100. Have you seen this before?
Yes, I seen it.
Now, I want you to follow along as I go with it, go through it with the members of the jury. Can everyone see? Now, Eric, on page 1, it shows here towards the middle of the page, page 2, towards the middle of the page, you made a correction to the spelling of your street. Do you see that?
On page 2,
Yes.
this one don't have no markings on it. Well, it don't have that marking on it.
Well, actually, can you step down and follow along with us then? I apologize. So, did you make the change there?
Yes, that's my name.
Maybe if you could step to the side just a little bit so they can see. Now, is this how Fort Myers is spelled?
No.
Did you change that?
No.
Why not?
At the time, I just really ain't cared no more.
Now, was that your home phone number at the time?
Yes, that's my home number.
And that's the same phone number that was on the phone record?
Yes.
And that was your cell phone at the time?
Yes, that's the number.
Now, going forward, on page 5, towards the bottom, that's when Detective Segovia starts asking you about the details of the night, November 26th. Now, when he asks you, how did you get to Miami, you state, I drove in a rental car. Why did you say that?
That's what he was saying. That's what he thought. So I just went the way he thought.
Now, the top of page 6, it asks, who were you with? Were you with someone named Carlos?
Carlos? No.
Do they actually mean Charles?
Yeah, I would assume so, yes.
Did you ever make that change or correction?
No.
Why not?
When I really didn't care anymore. I really wasn't paying attention.
Now, they ask you, did you know Tim's last name? And you said no. Did you know Tim's last name?
Probably not. No, I don't think so.
Did you know Benja's last name?
No.
Did you know Jason's last name?
No.
So that part of your statement, is that true?
Yes, I know that thing.
Now, at the bottom of the page, it asks, had you ever been to Sean Taylor's house before? Had you ever been to his house before?
No, I never been to his house.
Now on page 8, it asks you, do you remember the make of the vehicle? And you said no. Was that true?
Did I know the make of the vehicle?
Yes.
I knew what vehicle it was.
Then why did you say no?
Because they didn't know.
Now, on page 11, they ask you towards the middle of the page, how was it that you guys gained entry into the house initially? And you said the bathroom by the back pool, by the back door by the pool. How did you know that room?
How did I know that room?
Yes.
I seen the diagram.
And towards the bottom of the page, it asks you, did you enter from the side of the boat towards the backyard, or did you go around the other side of the house by the backyard? And at the top of the next page, you said the side by the boat. How did you know that?
Based on the conversation me and was having, he showed me the diagram, and we basically went over what they were saying.
Now, immediately after that, Detective Segovia asked you, was it a bedroom or was it a bathroom? And you state, I think it was the back door that leads to the house. Why didn't you answer bedroom or bathroom?
I guess. I didn't really know. I was just going by what I remember from the diagram.
Now, when he asked you, so what did you do next? And you responded, kick the door in. How many times did you have to kick the door before it opened? And you responded once. Where did you get that information from?
Where I got that information from?
Yes.
Everything, really everything based on our conversation. I was just saying what he told me, the things he didn't know. I just didn't say nothing.
Now here, they start asking you, or Detective Segovia asks you, what kind of gun it was. And you said, yes, a 9. Does that mean a 9mm? Yes. How did you know what type of gun it was?
Well, I had actually seen the gun, but that was part of the conversation too.
And here on page 19, they ask you, which way did you run out? And you state, I ran through the glass door, sliding glass door in the back. How did you open the glass door? I shut it. How did you know that a sliding glass door was shut if you didn't go into the house?
Well, I knew the guy was shot out. He told me. And plus, Segovia told me there was something they were telling him.
All right, you can take your seat again.
Now, Eric, do you recall a prior court hearing where you were asked if everything in your statement was true?
Yes.
And what was your answer?
I told him yes.
Why did you say everything was true, but you're now telling us it wasn't completely true?
Because at the time I thought it was irrelevant to the court hearing, and I didn't want to be forced into a situation where I had to testify against Charles.
Okay. Now, how did you know the information that was in your official statement?
The official statement,
Yes.
it was based on the conversations I overheard and discussion with Scobie.
Okay. Did you ever go into Sean Taylor's house?
No,
Did you ever shoot Sean Taylor?
no,
Did you ever throw a gun?
no,
Were you wearing Nike shop shoes that night?
no,
Do you know who was wearing Nike shop shoes?
no.
Now, after you gave your official recorded statement that we just went through, what happened at that point?
At that point,
Yes.
well, they let me talk to my father at that point.
Okay. Did they ever let you use the phone?
Did they let me use it?
Yes.
No, they didn't.
Did you use your father's phone?
Yes, I ended up using his phone
And why did you use your father's phone?
because I ended up calling my cousins
Why?
because I wanted them to go stay at my mom's house for me
And why did you want them to stay with your mom?
because I was concerned about what Segovia had told me.
Now, after you spoke with your dad, was your dad allowed to stay there with you?
After we spoke,
Yes.
I don't really recall, we spoke. Like, I was really using his phone for a few minutes. Then we spoke, and he left. I don't really recall if they made him leave, how it happened.
How did you feel when you first saw your dad?
So I was happy, I guess.
Now, if you never went into the house, why did you say you did?
Why I say I went in the house?
Yes.
Because at the time I agreed to cooperate with him.
Now, after you spoke with your father, were you given the chance to go through the statement like we just did a few minutes ago?
After I spoke to him,
Yes.
I believe it was like early the next morning, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, did you make corrections to the statement?
The corrections,
Yes.
I think I probably made a couple.
Now, at any point, did you ask the detectives, I want you to destroy this and this is not the truth?
No.
Why not?
Why not?
Yes.
At that point, I just thought I thought it didn't matter.
Why not? Why did you think it didn't matter?
I felt like once I told them I did it, I felt like it was over with. I'm going to jail for it. They were telling this what everybody was saying. And once the point I agreed, I didn't really see no point in nothing no more.
Now, after you made the corrections to the statement, were you taken to jail?
After I made the corrections,
Yes.
eventually it was early that morning too.
Okay. Now, when you were taken to jail, were there a lot of media outside the FDLE building?
The media,
Yes.
no, I think they had all the rules blocked off.
Was there a lot of media when you went to court?
Yes.
Now, I want to direct your attention to something.
Before we do that, can I see Council Sedber real quick?
Maybe that's stretch for me if you need to.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
Right here, I'm showing you what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 95. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And what is State's Exhibit 95?
It's a letter I wrote to my cousin.
Now, why did you write that letter to your cousin?
Why I wrote the letter?
Yes.
Because there was a lot of things going on, and he basically was telling me that Ariel was saying that she overheard me discussing, saying I was involved, and that's what the media was saying. Then it was just at that point, I didn't know what was going on because I had read the police report. Then I seen how they was lying, so I thought that was true. So I wanted him to go talk to her for me.
Okay. So at that point, when you wrote the letter, you thought Ariel was saying you were discussing a murder when you were at her house.
I don't recall if it was actually when I was at her house. I just remember her saying that she said she heard you saying that you did something.
Okay. And is that what you saw on TV or what you heard from people?
Both. It was on TV too. It's like her name was actually in the newspaper.
Now, how do you feel about the letter now?
How I feel about it now?
Sustained.
I strike that. Did anyone tell you to write the letter to your cousin?
Did anyone tell me?
Yes.
No, we basically was writing each other back and forth. Just
And why did you write the letter?
why did I write it?
Yes.
Because I wanted somebody to talk to her, see what was going on while she was saying them things. But I found out later that she said she never said it. So I really told her to just throw the letter away.
Now, how are you feeling at the point when you wrote the letter?
Objection.
I was,
Sustained.
Did you ever know Sean Taylor?
did I know him?
Yes.
I knew him from football.
Did you ever meet him personally?
No, I never met him.
Had you ever been to his house before?
No.
And how did you feel when you found out Mr. Taylor had passed away?
Objection. Sustained.
Now, you were under oath when you made your statement, correct?
Statement?
Yes.
The one that was on video?
Yes.
I believe so, yes.
And you're under oath while you're here in court today, correct?
Yes.
But you're telling us that parts of that statement were not true.
Parts of it?
Yes.
Yes.
But you were under an oath to tell the truth, correct?
Yes, I was.
Now, if you are under oath to tell the truth, why didn't you tell the truth when you gave that statement?
That statement?
Yes.
Different circumstances. At that time, I didn't really care about going to jail. I wasn't concerned about going to jail at the time.
What were you concerned about?
I was more concerned about my family
And why were you concerned about your family?
because I thought they might be in danger or something. I thought it was threats that was out. People were saying what they was going to do to them. So I wasn't really worried about going to jail anymore at that point. I was more worried about my family.
And you said earlier you thought that the entire conversation was recorded?
Did I think that?
Yes.
Objection. Overruled.
Yeah, I assumed it was recorded. I was in front of the camera the whole time.
Did you later find out that the entire conversation was not recorded?
Yeah, I found out around the same time that all this was going on about the letter. It's like that's when I finally realized that these people really ain't lying. They trying to do anything, that they willing to do anything.
Objection. Move to strike. Sustained. Ladies and gentlemen, disregard the last comment.
Judge, may I have just one moment?
Yes.
Truthfulness.